Chris, do you want to do that? Double dubs? All right,
Thank
so
you.
we are being recorded. Does you do screen sharing recording as well, or is it just audio? Let's see.
Yeah, I think we're going to be sharing some screens, so I think it might be worth recording the screen.
Yeah, things we could always put it as like a YouTube video or something later.
All right, I started sharing my screen. Just we'll see
Testing.
if we can hear you.
We can hear you.
All right, welcome everybody, all 6 people or whatever we've got. Thank you for coming in and being willing to look at some numbers and talk about community reports versus Wise Wizard reports and the numbers that we see. A lot of you know me from games and community interaction, and then we've got Tanthor Jen, who's the head of digital at Wise Wizard, with us
Can
as
you
well.
guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, guys. Yes, long time ago. No problem. You're welcome. I actually programmed it when I was serving in the army. Yep, that's a long time ago. Yes, that's right. But thanks.
All right, so jumping into the topics today, we've got we're going to look at some of our reports and then the numbers that we've been collecting. We're going to talk about the different expectations in sample sizes and other things. Just try to, so that everybody can understand the scale of what we see compared to what's reported on with Hero Helper, especially. We've done reported or recorded. No, sorry, we've done some reports based on the users from Hero Helper. And one of the things that we noticed right up front was just the overall user sample size. We've got, 350 people roughly in Hero Helper as of the time that I got the download the other day. And then we've got close to 30,000 users in our game archive table that we report against. So there's a big difference in just in the overall numbers of players. And then, of course, with the skill level of players, Hero Helper, we've got a very self-selected, high level of play group of players compared to the general public, if you will. So that's one thing just to note up front. Some of the biggest complaints recently have been around Wizard, especially, and we've been looking at Wizard and trying to break down what we see, and then comparing it to what other users have been showing in the last couple of days with the Hero Helper data. Let me see. First, can everybody see my screen as I'm navigating through this? Can everybody see?
Yep, I can see the wizard stuff.
Absolutely perfect.
Yep.
So for Wizard here, and we're still our reports are mostly internal. So sometimes we've got column names and things that they're not final. The column on the right is the overall win percentage, but with talk about Wizard and about treasure map, we've been trying to look at overall card win percentages. So this first section that we've got here is just Wizard games. Tan, can you describe which? I don't remember if this is all rules versions that we have, or if it's just the most recent ones. It looks like all based on the number of games.
No, this is just the most recent ones.
Okay.
And only for a few days in the past. So this is this is recent data.
So with over 60,000 games, 60.5 thousand games for Wizard, we've got most win percentages within 10% either direction of 50. We've got some in the arena, like Incandescent Sash. It's obviously way underperforming. But if we go back to treasure map overall, like we see a 56% win rate for treasure map, which is it's higher than absolute average, but it doesn't seem to us as being like super out of range. So that's the kind of numbers that we see for the games where it was used, excluding mirror matches. So excluding games where there were both players had treasure map. And this we're actually excluding it at the card level, not maybe the game level. In terms of comparing class and ancestry. So we just look at it at the card level for looking at this particular percentage.
So just to add on, right, ship in a bottle, which is the other option, is obviously underperforming compared to treasure map, but it's not out of the ballpark. So, like when we listen to the community, it seems like treasure map seems to be a big problem. And it could be that our data is not correct or we're looking at it wrongly. So, we're here to talk to you guys to help us understand, is treasure map really a problem?
Yeah,
Because our stats don't seem to bear it out.
I might take the lead on this one because I've been the one who's doing all the hero helper data. The thing we tend to see with treasure map is that, and Wizard in particular, is that it has very much an elite skew. So if you start looking at the hero helper data, and if you start breaking Wizard down by ancestry especially, treasure map does incredible things, in particular with small folk and half demon wizard. And at that point, that's where we're starting to worry about the balance. If we do elite level tournaments where, the best of the best are playing, we find that, ancestry wizards with treasure map are basically unbeatable in terms of matchup spread. We see that across the global data size, wizard has a 30% win rate against fighter, but a wizard being piloted by one of the best players in the game, all of a sudden the matchup's now favored for wizard, and now you shove it into clerics and rangers, for example, who just aren't quite as powerful, and the win rate deltas are greater than 90%. So we see it mainly as a problem for elite skew, and when we're talking about the Realms Rising community having a play with that, a lot of the people are focused on that elite skew of play, and that's where we believe the problem with treasure map mainly lies.
And when we start breaking it down by ancestry, you can certainly see elf, half demon, small folk. Those are all close to 60. It's interesting that orc is so close to that. Ogre wizards just don't do well, as everybody knows. And then you'll notice in the chart here where we don't have numbers, we've got less than, I believe it's 30 games. So people just don't play enough to collect any data for some of these. Find. And most of the tournaments that you're running are level 16, correct? Like most of the community run tournaments. So, at this level, we're looking at 3,600 games recently. So it's a much smaller sample size compared to all of our Wizard games. But we can still see, and at level 16, Treasure Map is actually like half demon. We're only seeing a 56% win rate. Small folk a little bit higher at 59. And some of that, I'm not sure how much is just due to lower sample size or what. But if we go back to level 12, actually, it comes in at level 13, so we won't even see it at level 12. So what are some of the other cards that people have seen or had the thought, oh, this seems way out of line compared to other, either the other cards for the class or within a class or other cards, same level of a different class?
I know that out of line in like the wrong direction for Ranger, that after like we had a brief time where Parrot was drawing a card, and from at that time the Hero Helper data, I know different sample size, was showing that it was trending up from a 40% win rate class up to about 50 to 55, and everyone kind of enjoyed it, and then it got changed to the healing, which is still useful, but it just overall just kind of dropped Ranger from that mid tier down to like the lower tier again.
Okay. So
Correct me if
Parrot.
I'm wrong. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was mainly an arena-driven change, wasn't it? The Parrot nerf.
I don't even recall now what the.
I remember there was a brief period where you could reserve got changed. You could only be one reserve ahead of somebody, and for a brief period, Ranger was abusing the fact that you can just get more reserves. So Ranger was getting to reserve like 3 or 4 while somebody was still on like 1 or 2. And part of it was because of Parrot just flipping the deck so quickly.
Yeah, between Parrot and Spyglass and both of them, really, you could flip the deck fairly quickly. So if we look at Parrot across ancestries, for some classes we just don't have the data for it, but some small folk Ranger, I guess, is having a hard time right now, but Elf and Half Demon, they tend to be strong, but so they're just over 50%.
Is this at level 16 or is this including arena data?
This is this would be across everything. So let's, I don't think we've got a separate level 24 because they're in general level 24 only.
Yeah, but let's see 16.
Is human only, right? So it'll be further.
That's true. Level 24 is human only.
Yeah, so if you go up, you can see the data for for everything, right? Yeah, here, and this will include level 24.
Can we just see at 16? Because I'm curious how that your data matches with what we've seen. So Parrot at 16, and that's 1,200 games. I'm assuming that's over this year. Or you said
No,
that's
should be just a couple of weeks, I think.
couple weeks. Okay, no.
Yeah, just the last few weeks.
Yeah, we tend to find the Ranger win rates, they're pretty low in Hero Helper, and that's mainly due to once once player skill increases, Ranger really has an uphill battle against Wizard and Thief in particular. So I think we tend to notice decreased win rates in Ranger as a result of that.
Yeah, but like if you look at under the Elven column, you will see that the percentages are above 50. But within our benchmark, so I think we kind of like to keep things within the 40 to 60% range because it's almost impossible to balance stuff at exactly 50%.
Yeah, the Hero Helper data has Elf Ranger and Human Ranger both below 45.
Yeah,
Again,
so
it's because
the
when
weird
we
thing is
focus
that
on elite play, it's bad against Wizard and Thief, and so it goes down because good players tend to play Wizard and Thief more.
would it be possible, like, how would let's say in our data, how would we be able to, slice off the elite players off from the regular players?
There might be like a creative way that involves checking to see if players have multiple characters. An arbitrary one, does a player have a character in Diamond? Yes, they probably are considered an elite player. And then
That would be an interesting way to do that.
Yeah, like does a player have a character? Just one character in Diamond? That could be a good benchmark. And then you only look at their stats for all the players, and you could also potentially look at them playing each other rather than focusing on the broader community. Because I could queue up Elf Ranger, and if I'm playing against someone playing their first game at level 16, doesn't matter what the matchup is, I'm probably going to win because they'll misplay me into victory.
Yeah, we could try that. We could run the numbers that way and see what we get.
Although I think it's going to be pretty funny when I get flagged for being an elite wizard player because I have a diamond fighter. That's going to be really funny.
It means you are elite, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, you have to have like some, classification for elite player that's open, and it has to be wide enough so you can get a large enough sample size, right? So
yeah. Okay, I mean, we could definitely run the numbers that way and see if it will skew one way or the other. But you can understand our problem, because what you guys say and what we see in our data does not seem to tally up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a
big
tricky
difference is
thing.
Our Wizards are at a plus 5% win rate delta to what you see across the board. Our Ancestry Wizards are plus 5% on what you have. And everything else, and our range is down, but everything else seems pretty similar.
Okay.
I wonder if it would be helpful is there a way to just drop all of the humans? Because nobody who is, air quotes, an elite player is playing a human wizard anymore.
Exception for Thief.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely do that, but because human is the most common ancestry, we would drop a lot of games that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think some of the hero helper data is just really like it's the interaction between level 16 and the ancestries is where it like really starts. That's where people start saying, "Hey, this is a little overpowered."
Yeah, and I see the other comments from people. Names that are not kind of the usual suspects. There was one in Realms Rising the other day of somebody going, "Is Half Demon Wizard overpowered? I've been playing him against them as a Ranger for 4 games, and I just can't win." It's like, yeah, you're not wrong. So there are, without checking to see if they were in Hero Helper or not, that we do know that there are other people who are observing this as well.
I have a radical thought, and that it might also like kill a few birds with one stone.
Okay.
What if, kind of like in Star Realms, we had the server run tournaments, and then from that you could also see what classes consistently win?
Yeah. We are, for anybody who plays Draconis 8, we are currently working on developing in-app tournaments for Draconis, and if all goes well, then I would hope in the next insert time frame with some unknown number of O's for the soon. It would be nice to be able to take that same kind of framework. We've got lots of wishes and things that we would like to do. So, getting in-app tournaments would be really good. And then being able to run those tournaments at different levels and see, okay, who wins consistently in a level 12 tournament or in a level, pick some other number tournament.
Yeah, I think it would also be great for community engagement and sort of like an actual reward and reason to play besides just from ladder.
Agreed. And also arenas with rewards for arena. We've got plans there as well. Our development team is stretched between multiple games though, so I can't, there's no promises when anything might be added, but we have a long wish list. We're just, we got to prioritize some things.
Just to chime in there, right? So basically, on the balancing of hero ranks, our main task right now is actually to rebalance the art, like maybe not at the elite level, but all of the yellows that you see in this report is basically where we are focusing most of our effort on. And like just stuff like treasure map really isn't on the list. So just to share a little bit about what we're actually working on. And I mean, do you think? I mean, is treasure map really a big problem? I guess coming back to that, because it seems to be a very polarizing topic in when I follow the discussions around it.
Yeah, so the main problem with treasure map is particularly when you mix it with small folk and half demon, is that you create an inevitability on the game state that other classes don't have access to. So wizard tends to be favored against thief and cleric just innately. And running treasure map, if you do have experienced players, the wizard win rate against cleric should be 95, 100%. We're talking like those extreme thresholds. Because the treasure map, wizard has more econ than cleric early game, and then treasure map gives the wizard more inevitability and more value in those early turns. So the wizard should almost always be beating the cleric, and likewise we see the value that treasure map gives, again with the inevitability due to the sacrifice, as well as some other staples like the blue for econ, really helps build up a large, like, it helps accelerate the game much quicker than the other classes have access to at level 16 and level 14. And then additionally, the yellow from map is also incredible for flipping the fighter wizard matchup. So when a good player, from experience, when a good player is playing wizard is playing against a good player on fighter, before treasure map, the wizard is just fingers crossed that multiple Imperials are on the market so they can get enough healing to live. Once treasure map's around, they realistically only need one Imperial because the healing from a single Imperial and from treasure map is often enough to beat the fighter. So it's just really... And then against Ranger, Wizards just got much better everything. And again, treasure map really accelerates that. So we tend to see that it creates really powerful game states due to either sacrifice or healing out of map, and then sometimes the econ as well. It just does a lot, and it kind of has an answer for every single matchup, and we find that it pushes when you give map to a good player, the good player is able to utilize map to make sure that they don't have any unfavorable matchups.
Small folk especially, because small folk has the ability when you pair friendly banter with it, and you can pick whichever one of the ally abilities you want to trigger right then, whatever's the most favorable.
Right. Maybe Joel, maybe we could share the matchup report in the other spreadsheet.
Let's see. So this is again all players, not just not just the Hero Helper players. Here's a quick, just an interesting bit of, if anybody wonders how many games are played by our free players who are playing only Wizard and Fighter at level 4, they account for 36% of the games played. So
That's awesome to see the free to play community thriving there. That's cool.
I want to how many wins at level 4 do they have against Ancestry? Anything?
a lot of that we actually have hardly looked at data. The level 4 things are not what really drives a lot of balancing discussions. So I don't have those numbers right now. In general, though, across all levels, this is without Ancestry, but here's the 122,000 games. Here's our win percentages across just at the class level.
So the thing about Wizard is it does not seem to be overperforming, in general. I can't say at the elite level, but at least in general, it's not overperforming.
Yeah, I will say that Wizard is a class that at lower levels is generally very weak. So if that data is mixed in, it's probably going to bring that down. It's also considered so weak that even when we play in Legends, like everyone just refuses to pick it. Or we joke that maybe we should all pick it.
I think we do build this thing, this table for other levels. So Joe, if you scroll down, should be able to see it at the level we want to see.
Another interesting call out at the top level, though, is if you look at, so we have an allegory table that's just on the website of Hero Helper. And if you look at just Wizard versus Cleric, all-time win rate is at 61.3%. So even if you add in a little experience, you can see we're starting to take advantage. And that is for across all time, so it's not even in the current meta.
Right.
Okay. So as we scroll through levels 1, 2, you can see we just don't have a lot of data for a lot of these matchups. So if we...
And it would be level 3 versus, or level X versus level X in this case, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So level 16, right, is where I think we would be interested in.
So yeah, here, Wizard versus Cleric, level 16, there's that 66% win rate, 73 against Druid, 32 against Fighter.
32. Yeah, so it kind of balanced. Okay, so anyway, like these are things that I guess the design team is looking at.
And then here's the level 24 in the arena.
Oh my gosh. It's bad matchup. It's a 57% win rate.
And yeah, you can see Thief is doing really well in the arena right now.
Oh, I was reading Thief as the Wizard. That's great. Okay.
Yeah,
No,
so the winning column will be on the left. Like the class on the left will be the winner. And then so like Thief versus Alchemist, Thief wins 84% of the time.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, so the balance team has a lot of work to do. But to be honest, like treasure map really isn't on their list. So
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's maybe like a interesting point in the conversation to talk about, because like to me, part of it is kind of like the hope. Like I can see why you want to balance your game to the bulk of the people that are playing it, right? Like the majority of people are having this experience. You want to like balance for that experience. But I think there's also like a case to be made that like you eventually want your player base to like stick around and become knowledgeable and experienced and get to that higher level. And that's where I think they're going to start, eventually running into some of these experiences where they're like, oh no, the wizard is able to be so consistent against me. So that's where I wonder that like I don't know. It's so hard because you have the data that's telling you one thing, and then you have like our anecdotal experience telling you another thing. But just from my perspective, it's like we want people to get to the point where they come to Realms Rising and like play with us and join our tournaments and play the game at a high level. And it just seems like at that high level play, there's always going to be an established meta and a best class and stuff like that. But just kind of the treasure map, if I were to like just to call it out, and well, here's one thing I'll say a little bit, and not to get ahead of myself, but things could change as like we saw, like things are different at level 12 and at 14 and at 16. So that could happen again at 18, but it just feels like the combination of having the draw on it. That's one thing we've hypothesized as a community, was just like, well, what if treasure map didn't draw? Maybe that would be enough to like rein it in just that little bit, because as of now it just makes it feel like it's like this glue that holds the wizard engine together and just like makes it have so much utility. If you're in aggro, then you just buy one Imperial and you're pretty much set to have a counter. And like we talked about, if you're a half demon, well, then you have a red card in your deck already. So now you have automatic access to scrapping. If you're a small folk, you have that automatic access to scrapping, or you can go blue for the econ. So it really turns out that like you can just buy 1 or 2 cards off the market and then like rinse and repeat, and you're drawing tons of cards because you have your channel, you run Arcane Wand, you have your Blazing Staff, you have Magic Mirror, and you have the treasure map that draws. So you just have so many draw effects that's one thing that we've hypothesized. So I know that was kind of a lot of points about like understanding the balance and stuff, so I'll kind of stop there, but that's a little bit of perspective from myself.
So there are two things that I was thinking, we were thinking about. Number one is if we gave you guys a chance to do the balancing for a week or a month, right? Would that be something the community would be interested in? Like, give us a set of changes that you would like to see, and we could put it into a balance patch or put it into an arena game or something, and see how that plays out.
How could we say no?
It's already half ready.
So yeah, Warden Slayer, I have to say a huge thank you for making the custom game stuff an option. Warden Slayer is one of our most contributing members of that. He's been working on Lua scripting to create our own balanced version of the game as we like hope to see it as a community. We have Tough on the call. He wrote an article about how he thinks we could try balancing it. So like I think we would certainly be open to that.
What do you think, Joe? We'll just run his custom game as an arena.
I think we could either, if we did it as a larger balance patch, then we would have the changes across many levels. If we did it in the arena, the level selection, like we'd have to pick, and maybe we could do it different weeks, would be different levels. But yeah, I mean, an arena scenario with the changes, I think would be doable.
I think that's probably an awesome way to test it, because like you have like in Star Realms, like arenas that you get like a random effect. So basically the random effect would just be like, hey, these cards are changed to that, and you run it for like a couple weeks and just let players go. And I think everybody would be very willing to just go in and try an item, and hey, if it feels more broken or less broken, and also you'll just straight up just get data on that, and you'll get a large sample size too.
That was the one.
If you guys could run, sorry, I'm just going to jump in. If you could run a test that went for 2 weeks per level, I think that would give the player base enough time to generate some meaningful data. And I think like if you did open up the arena to our changes, we would hype the hell out of that and try and get as much data for you as possible to see, if the balances we're proposing as a community actually were, sustainable in the long term. But I would make any one of those levels at least 2 weeks long to give people time to get those games in.
Sure. And we could actually set the start and end times for the arena to be 2 weeks instead of the normal 1 week at a time. Like, just set it up ahead of time so that people know how long it's going to go.
I have a few thoughts to share. Warden, you were going to go though too. Did you had something to say?
Oh, I was just saying that sounds. I mean, me who spent a lot of time already making the cards for half of them from Tuff's article. Like that's my one. Like I'm a tech guy. I'm not a big data collection, balance, expert or anything. But I just like I always think that that's the hardest thing would be to actually get meaningful data from running it. Because
Right.
people would only want to use the new cards and not the old ones, and then you'd be like, well, now you have, yeah. So getting a larger pool of players would absolutely.
And running
Right.
it in the arena would be good because, I've read the article. Several of the cards are, they're in production cards right now, so it would allow us to test them before we made the changes just for the public at large. So, and we could even do, I know the article has like one card for every class. If we had an arena where some of the changes were not made yet, I don't know if we would leave those classes out or go ahead and play with all of them. We've got a lot of flexibility in what we allow.
I think just to maybe encourage people to try all the classes, if every class did get that one change, because you wouldn't get much data if you only change treasure map, then everyone goes and plays wizard. Well, you just got a lot of mirror match data. So by doing it for something for every class, it'll just encourage people just to try everything. I do know that there is at least one thing that I put in there that was more like an out there change, which was like the thief one, which I know Filter
Yeah,
Folk.
Filtro. Yeah, he already banned.
Yeah.
But the rest of
if
them
anyone
were.
ever thinks that thief change is a good idea, I'll find where they live and send them a
But-
letter explaining that they really need to go get themselves tested for something or other.
In all seriousness, besides for the thief one, every one of them was just like a simple number adjustment or like a very small tweak. So I think they're like fair things. The thief one, we might have to think of something else, or maybe we just do nothing for thief because according to the arena statistics, thief needs a big nerf bat.
Less discards. End of podium stand.
Well, to be clear, this will be at level 24. So I'm not sure what level we'll run the arena at. I'll need to speak with Rob and Darwin and see if they want data at 16 or 24, I guess.
Right.
I would spend a couple, like if it were me, I would spend a couple of weeks at 16 and just have our check there, as well as a couple of weeks at 24, at least a couple of weeks at 24, and maybe some others in the middle. For all of you who are being very polite and not asking me on the call, so when is level 18 coming? I'll just go ahead and answer that now. We're trying to get, my goal was to try to get through the first round of like bug fixes and things with the Journeys promo set, which that build is waiting for Apple to review it. We might release it. I don't know about tomorrow, but hopefully by Monday. And then if those are looking good, then at that point, I think I'll probably run the update and bump all the legend players up to 18, or bump your level cap up to 18. So then we've got a whole new set of levels for people to play with.
That'll be cool.
That's awesome.
I can't wait to use Muse's paper.
I'm sorry because I should have asked this question before you said that. Now everyone will want to talk about 18 forever, so I want to get this in before we move on. But I wanted to propose two things. One, when you offered to have a balancing patch that like we would help sponsor, I think that's fantastic. But I also am just like cautious of some of the things that, going back to what Tuff had said of just doing one small change per class is nice, but just cautioning changing too much at once, right? Because that's been one of the things that people have sort of raised their hackles about in the past. So I think as long as we don't overdo it, then that would be good. Or maybe we could even work together to commit to, like, okay, we'll release a few things this time and then a few things next and a few things next to make sure we don't go too far in one direction or the other. That may be a wise way to do it, but we're also dealing with resource constraints and making it sort of hard to do. I really love the idea of having things in arenas. I also think it might be kind of cool to have it be I know we have Lua scripts and everything, but the preloaded custom game scenarios could also be really cool because it's a little easier to use. I think it's a little more accessible to use the No Heroes version of a game or something like that. But we could have like this particular balance patch.
Yeah,
And
we
then
could run tournaments
menu.
and events that way a lot better using the test data. Just a thought. If it
Yeah.
existed as a script in the custom game queue, then we could like set it up that we could like challenge and play against each other and like play test more that way in like a
Yeah.
more controlled way. Just a thought. I like that idea.
And then we would also have level changing ability, right? Like you could be like, cool, we're gonna do it at level this level, or we're gonna do it at that level. One other thing too at that on that point is that we had discussed, and like I never did it because I'm notoriously like not willing to do stuff because I'm lazy, but we had discussed organizing like getting a Lewis script that was for balancing and stuff like that together, and then trying to organize as a group of like, okay, we're gonna have this group play this matchup, this group play this matchup, this group play this matchup, different skill levels, different like types of players, right? And then like we could kind of like rotate through them to build a good sample size of different skill groups, different people, and to try to come at it at a kind of like a very disciplined methodology to try to get good numbers and hit a certain sample size and different things like that, right? So I think it could be really
Run a
interesting.
tournament.
Yeah, just run a
You know,
tournament.
whoever from our community wants to guide, hey, what data do we want to collect? Let's get a tournament running. I've been out of the scene, so I don't know who's running what. But I mean, if we have arenas open, those tournaments that last for a week or two or whatever the testing period is, and drive as many people to that as we can, so we'll get that high level data ourselves, and then we can compare that against what the more generic data looks like.
Yep. I mean, if nothing else, if we don't get broad community interest on it, it could be really interesting just to have a dedicated group of testers and to see what a dedicated group of testers could get you for like balance notes before you would actually go live in prod with a change.
Mhm.
Just some
Yeah,
thoughts. Now we can talk about level 18 all we want if that doesn't spur additional conversation.
Actually, I was
I-
hoping we could discuss the logistics of getting a set of balance notes of what you guys would like to see in a balance arena. Like, would someone compile them, or will we
Yeah.
just get the script from Warden Slayer? I mean, how would that work?
He's already written most of
It's
it,
only
right?
half done. Wait, it's half done. I haven't done the ancestry stuff yet. Because I didn't do the thief, so that was easy. But the other four are good to go. But
Okay,
then,
so
I mean, I just used the article at Tough Road from the Realms Rising website because, like I said, I'm not a big brain on what to change. I just am the person that is technical and makes the changes.
right.
Does the testing.
There's one thing to add to this really quick. When I was playing for a second Marvel Snap at the encouragement of many of the people that are on this call with us, ultimately I couldn't have too many addicting games on my phone, so Marvel Snap got axed. They did a really good job when they made a balance change of releasing why. Like they put out the notes. They talked about, this particular card, when you combine it with this and this was just a little bit too strong, so we took it down a notch. We did this, we did that. I would encourage you guys to study that, like look at those as an example to copy. Really good. And then we could work on writing stuff up like that for if a balance patch was released or what we thought we should do to communicate the changes. For sure. But I think that we could definitely raise lots of interest in the community of being like, this is what we should do, or there's plenty of people who have tons of opinions. I'm not one of those people, ironically. I don't care. I'm pretty bad at Hero Realms compared to these guys, but
I'm really bad at it compared to everybody. I just have fun
Yeah.
playing with it.
I'm like you, Joel. I like to do that. I like to build the little tools around it. That's fun.
Okay, so I guess Joel will just pull Tuff's article, make sure the script works, and then we'll roll it out as an arena at level 16.
Yeah, we'll get back to you with a more appropriate thief change.
Alchemist
Sounds good.
too, I think.
I
Okay,
mean this
and-
unironically when I say that Thief should probably just not even be changed. It's like been the most middle win rate class for the last 2 years, so it's probably just fine to leave Thief there as a control to see where everything fluctuates around it.
Yeah, and that sounds good. I mean, Thief is definitely the one that gets the most like customer service interaction for feel bad moments, like just the random comments from people. I don't know how to fix that. The discards equals bad. Completely redo the class so that it doesn't have. That's really loud.
Jump on mute there, Jig.
Is that Jig?
Yep.
Some classic Japanese sirens.
I DM'd him to mute himself. I don't think he checked it. There it is.
He was too busy eating sushi.
Anyway, yeah, thief. There's other questions about how to get people past sometimes you discard, but it's actually an okay class to play and play against. Get past that point.
It just requires education and time. I don't know how you serve that to a more inexperienced player base, but if
Yeah.
you're complaining about discard, you just fundamentally don't understand how this game works. And I don't know how you solve that either, but I don't think it's something that's worth addressing in terms of game mechanic changes, but more in how do we serve up better low-level player introduction information. Like the Realms Rising community is surrounded around that, but you kind of have to be a hardcore nerd to even find it.
Well, I funnel people when I just going behind the scenes a little bit here, because I handle customer service tickets as well as other things. When I get emails from people either on the Star Realms side going, this person's cheating, or how come that, this is bad, whatever. It's like, well, on Star Realms, go read Mega Holland. Hero Realms, go over here to Realms Rising, check out the strategy articles. There's a lot of people in the Discord that would be happy to talk to you. So I've funneled many people over the years. Whether or not they join, I have no idea. I don't get follow up.
Yeah,
but I try.
We are seeing new people join still. I mean, we've had plenty of people come in and sort of do really well in some of the competitive events. There's a French guy. He's since retired because life took over. But this guy Kaka came in and he was new, took over for a good solid 3 months, 6 months, however long it was. I think it would be interesting to try to leverage the real estate you guys have on the app opening screen, having some sort of a fun message like, "Do you want to get good?" Something like that, and just push them to your Discord. But the act of getting them onto the Discord, there's enough of us in both places talking about, oh yeah, and Realms Rising, that it will kind of do that job for you, I think.
Yeah,
I think that could be really helpful for you, just as far as trying to foster that community growth and get people to join and do more. And that's what I did. I was like, who are these jerks kicking my ass all the time? I want to get better at this game. And I just searched and I found the Discord and Realms Rising, and then
that's a good suggestion. I'll add another. I can put in another ad, and we still have a link. It's on the bottom of the page usually, but we do have an ad for Sparks and Rex still.
Which I want to say thank you
for so long, and thank you guys so much for
thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's also a good thing to do, because the more I don't know, if you foster people getting into that nerdy, because it really scratches this really lovely nerdy itch.
Yeah,
the more they can get into it, I feel like you're building loyalty to the game, which is important in this landscape where it's so easy to get a different game. What is the game that resonates with you, right? So if this is one of them, it helps keep it going, helps keep it sticky, and the community events are one of the main drivers of that.
All right, thanks for sharing that. Be sure to feedback that to Rob.
Yes.
Okay, so just a quick question, right? Would you guys be interested in having a copy of the data that we have, so to help you, prepare the balance patch notes and all that?
100%.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll see what we can share with you guys, and then Joel can send it over to you, and then you guys can go and work off it.
To give I've got a user that Filterphobe uses to run queries against our data set too. If you would want, I could easily share that to you, and then I'm sure Filter could share the queries he uses for meta mashup. And if there's other queries you wanted to explore, that'd be fine with me too. So you could see like, well, Hero Helper, this is what they have versus this that we have. This is what we have, and you could like do like a comparison to be like, okay, understanding why, seeing the differences, all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
We-
that'll be really useful if you could just send over. I'm not sure what you could send over, but yeah, sure. We'll be most interested in that.
Yeah, I'll send Joel the credentials and instructions for how to log in. Basically,
Okay.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah,
Sure.
I don't have any queries. I just click export all and run it locally with some scripts on my end. But
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, you'll have to talk to Filtro directly, Joel, in that case.
Yeah,
Okay.
But you'll see the data.
sure. These are all Python scripts actually, so hopefully it all just comes in and we can run the same reports.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We capture the game object, but then we alter it so it's like in a more, I don't know, I guess you'd call it reportable format.
Yeah, flattening it out a little bit, probably.
Yep. So I'll pass it. The same scripts probably won't work, but they'll be very similar. For
And
sure. It's the same data.
In our Python scripts, we extract out and create virtual columns off the game object. So it's I'm going to guess very, very similar.
Yeah. And we do a similar thing. And then I also don't have access to a lot of the objects that you guys do have. So, and part of that is because some of them aren't available, and part of that is because I recently discovered there's some APIs that I can actually hit that I haven't been. And I was like, oh, so if I ever get a lot of time, then maybe we'll get a little bit more data. But for now, this is what we have.
We're coming up on an hour. I think that's probably a good time to end it for this go around. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and joining and providing feedback. We want this game to do well. I hear a lot of the pain points. So we're trying to figure out how do we best serve the larger player base plus the really invested player base. I'm not sure that we'll always keep everybody happy, but we're going to try.
We really appreciate this. I mean, like seeing the data, sharing the data, and the willingness to maybe use Arena as a testing platform would just be huge.
I think Arena and custom game both. I think if we get the script right, we can maybe use it for both. I need to brush up on.
Yeah,
that
I
side
will
of
say
things.
that I will say I got to drop off in a minute here, but I will say that I have all of the, the 4 OG classes done. I haven't actually done the Ancestry ones yet, so somebody let me know if I need to finish it and what the timeline is.
Sure. Maybe to keep things simple, we'll just do humans and the 5 base classes. At least that's something that will be easy to analyze and easy to program. You know what I mean? And we can see
Did I
how it
say
goes.
Ancestries? I think I meant the beta class. I'm not sure if I said.
Yeah, you did say Ancestries, but yeah,
Sorry,
I can
confused.
understand
Yeah,
both.
no, I'm talking about the 6 beta classes I haven't.
But
Yeah,
Still working on those.
maybe
think
for
it
the
would be-
custom game thing, maybe that's where we could test Ancestries a little more easily, because we do still need to check things like, does taking draw off the treasure map, does that knock small folk and half demon wizard down a point or two, to see what the result is. So we can, I think with a script, I think we can take it from there and figure out where's the best place to use it and to test different levels and different class combinations.
As a script, you mean like a list of changes that we want? Or?
A list of changes, but once we have those changes in a scenario script, whether it's a scenario for the arena or a custom game scenario to use in the custom game section of the app.
Okay, but just to understand, we're just going to take the changes directly off the article, or do we want to make changes?
Warden Slayer's already started and made a lot of them. I think we might be able to take that, look at it, maybe polish it up, I don't
Sure.
know how it compares to our internal.
Yeah, but I
Scripting.
mean,
Yeah.
I guess my point is we need the initial requirements, right?
Yes.
What do we have to change? Yeah.
Which I think we have ready to go with the agreement that we don't implement the thief change. I think
Yeah,
we have
basically leave
yeah.
thief alone.
Okay. Sounds good.
Right. And maybe we can hassle John and just going in there and updating it. So it's better. This is great.
I'm just thrilled the fact that this is actually like coming to be, because
How
it's
cool.
yeah, just because like a lot, like the majority of the tweaks just like, hey, if we just did like just one minor thing, and some things also like we're to like make build like different builds more viable, like for fighter, because like helmet is not as good, it's not as consistent. So
Yeah.
it'll be cool like the test those. Like I'm definitely excited to do things like play a rallying flag that's a champion and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay.
I think as a final note, just how cool is it that you guys are willing to hop on a call like this? I think these are the small actions that a small business takes to start building up a large following, right? Like these are the things like people do it just because they do it for the love of it, and then it starts to sort of catch on. Will it not? That's always the risk we take with things like this, right? But I love to see you guys doing this with any of your game properties. I think it's a great thing. And I think it will overall help Wise Wizard a lot. So awesome. Cheers to you both.
Yep.
You guys are awesome. And we really appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. We really appreciate all the time that you guys gave to jump on this call as well.
Yeah.
We appreciate your time too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. We'll see you, or at least I will see you in the arena.
All right. Bye.
All right. Awesome.
Gentlemen. Bye.
See you in a
Thanks,
few
everyone.
minutes. Everyone else, bye.
Yeah.